Oh yeah, no, it looks fine. So we're looking at our first match of the feature. Yes, that's right. We do have a Wild Weiss represent happening in this top 8. It's going to be a great time for all involved. What's the deck matchup here, Ken?
Yep, so Igor we have just from the last game playing Macross, and X, or Tom, is playing, what's his name, ZNT, so Zero no Tsukaima.
Yeah, ZNT again. So it's going to be another interesting matchup. What we're going to be looking at is that balance between just me go face and heel looping. So the question is, can Macross out Unga Bunga ZNT? I mean, that's. So we'll just get into it. We're just waiting on the players to start. I think I might just. So we're going to get straight into things here. Hopefully, we're just waiting on the players to kick off. Yeah, look, I imagine that. Look, if Macross manages to get ahead early, this could be really, really painful for ZNT, because the deck can struggle to come from behind. It can stabilize. Don't get me wrong, but it can occasionally struggle to actually win games from behind. It's really good at winning games that are even and winning games that are won, but once you fall behind on ZNT, it can be a little bit hard to come from behind. Whereas Macross here is, I mean, like we said, full Unga Bunga, full Smork, me go face, me no trade, and just go for it. So starting things off here, a pretty classic opener, just a Louise, an Eleanor, a swing, that's it. Hopefully we'll get a better idea of what this Macross deck is trying to do in this particular game, but we see that support coming back out again, and we'll see if we get some more interesting stuff, or if it's just going to be, play a 2-soul. I don't know. I've got to say, something in the back of my mind says that, if Macross does manage to sneak in a little bit of damage, or a nice little cancel there, then this could just be really hard for ZNT to deal with. And maybe there's enough of these big hits coming out that ZNT might be in a tough spot. What do you reckon?
I think what you said earlier is correct. So ZNT just wants to stabilize. Getting your first attacker back and getting those cancels there definitely does help in doing that. So for the moment, I would say that Tom is not too frightened of anything, but having eight climaxes in your deck with double soul triggers, it could really quickly change the pace of the game. For now, he's good, but we don't know where we're headed.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes Weiss is just one of those games where, the cards that come off the top of your deck just need to be better than the cards that are in your deck. And, if the cards on top have symbols on them and they have pictures, then sometimes you just win. Yeah. But both of these decks, real calm starters in level 0. Not too much flashiness going on here. Mostly utility effects. And actually, I mean, I think that's kind of a standard thing when it comes to these earlier decks. Oh, interesting line from Tom here. Just goes straight for the attack.
Surprised that he only plays one attack there. Because I didn't think that Igor was expecting that either of his attackers would come back. I thought Tom would just play a second character, be fine with the idea that he can leave one of the characters. He also wants to fill up his front, not take as much damage, right? But I guess he had other plans.
Maybe his hand's bricked up, but it might also just be that he wants to set up for some kind of... well, I think he just wants to get to level 1 first, right? I mean, it could be as simple as his hand is bricked. But kind of a strange one. I mean, you know, I can understand not filling up your front row early on, but at the same time, like 2 attackers is kind of what I expected. Just the one, I mean, you know, are you falling behind a little bit on stock? Tom really has to, you know, kind of think here, because it's pretty likely he's going to push his opponent to, well, I mean, it's pretty much impossible to not push his opponent to level 1 unless he swings and cancels and decides not to play any other attackers, which is, I mean, he's conserving hand size, I'll give that to him. But the stock lead is eventually going to matter. I'm really interested to see. Okay, so here comes the drop searcher.
Yep.
One thing that we can say is that Tom does have that 2-1 level support in his clock already, so we will not be seeing so far the whiff on the early play. That is there, so we might be seeing a little bit more of a level 2 game happening as opposed to the other level 2 game that we saw on stream previously.
Yeah, I think it's very important that he gets his level 2 game off this matchup as well, because we know that Igor is playing 2-2s hit 10k and a little bit more with the back row, but if Tom isn't able to answer those, it can spiral out of control again. But they do seem to stick a bit more than expected. You really want to be able to fight that wherever you can.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it could just end up being a very, very slow game in general from both players, but that doesn't really seem to be with the game plan that Macross was going for. Maybe Tom just doesn't know what he's up against. I mean, I don't blame him, because if I sat across from Macross, I also wouldn't know what I'm up against. And I think everyone in the chat can probably agree, if any of us sat across from Macross, we wouldn't know what we're up against at all. So, you know, maybe he's playing this slow, but not really ready for the huge burst that may just come out of nowhere. Does decide to fill up that front row this time though, so a little bit more traditional. You know, this line of play makes me think that he actually just had a bricked hand, because, you know, searched for a level 0, played another level 0. Yeah, this I think it means he had a bricked hand. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here, but who knows? He might just be 300 IQing us, and you know, this is some of that fabled Australian Weiss Schwarz play that I've heard so much about. And he's got the little bomb here as well.
Yeah, I didn't think he would play the 1k1. Definitely earlier in the game, it would have been more desirable for Tom to try and hit level 1, because that way he can make the most out of his own. Igor gets to put 2-2s on them. Obviously, he's kind of given up on leveling up before his opponent, so I thought he'd just fill up his board in order to take damage from direct attacks. But that door there is definitely speeding up the game in a way that I didn't think would benefit Tom. I'm curious as to...
We did hit a gate trigger, so we did have a salvage to try and keep his hand size up. Double Eleanor's for a little bit of protection on that Louise, but probably not going to be too much. There we go, very easily cleaned up with this board here. That 1-0 is also a climax combo, but I don't believe it's run in this. I believe you just play that card because you need a you just need a 1-0. And here we go. Here is the 2-soul.
He actually didn't play the combo this turn, but he is using the card in his deck. The combo is a stock, so on attack he can pay 1 to bottom deck up front level 1 or lower. So even if he did have the combo, it wouldn't really make very much sense to use cards that he can send to the bottom that are going to go to the waiting room anyway. But if Tom had leveled up first, maybe he could have used the bottom at least.
Yep, but that 2 soul is still acting as an advantage engine for this deck right now, giving you a draw trigger. Well, it's sorry, it's not an advantage engine. It's a draw ditch, isn't it? Oh man,
It's a hand filter, yeah.
dude, this set is so bad.
Damage in a sense is an advantage, as for every damage that you stick, your opponent loses. Yeah, that's just 4 clock draws, Tom. Arguably.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, look. Big hits. Big hits coming out here. That's what we like to see from these 2 souls.
Does look a bit stuffed, though.
Yeah, definitely is a potential for, Tom to just say, well, I guess I'm at level 2, but I'm just going to play some Louises, some 1-1s, some 1-0s, and call it a day, clear your board out. Is he going to be able to get over this level 2, though?
It is a 2-10k on its own with a 500 the alto, as well as a front 500 from the clan. It's currently 11. It would mean that Tom has to forego healing, but he does have the early play conditions, so he could play an early play and levels for it, let him step over 2-2. And given that Igor's hand size is a bit small, I think that is a
Yeah, he could do that. I mean, he could, full balls deep it and try and go for the the 1-0 brainstorms, I guess. But let's see what he manages to get off this. It's not called Operation Tornado. Operation Tornado is the Angel Beats one. I forget what this event's called, but it's a good card.
This one is called, I think, Hostage Rescue Plan.
Hostage Rescue. Hostage, yeah, that's it. Getting that 3-2 early play and did he mill already? I didn't see him mill.
I believe he did mill.
Oh, he did already.
Quickly looking the card name, so I missed what the mills were. Looks like he did hit a climax and he's salvaging a.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, no, not yet. So
does hit
that
the
is
climax.
A climax. That can salvage.
Does hit the climax, so all good to go with picking up. Oh, okay, right. The
that is a 2-1-3k backup.
Yes.
This is a very minor. It's a very minor thing, but I believe the previous ZNT deck that we saw was playing a different, which has the familiar trait, which means that it can be salvaged with the 2-1 refresh. Can't. I don't think it comes up quite as often as you'd imagine, but it is a minor point that you might want to pay attention to if you're.
That's true, yeah. Always important to optimize on traits where you can. Is there any benefit to playing that one with the magic trait? Oh, the other one has magic trait as well.
This one has royal family or nobility trait.
Oh, different. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it does have magic as well. I'm not too well versed in the ZNT, so I don't know what cards exactly would help this, but I'd assume that there are some cards which help royal family trait, given how many characters in this show are of some kind of royalty.
We do see that that 1-0 Saito coming out. However, with only one stock available to brainstorm, is he going to Hail Mary it and try and swing over the top of this 2-2, or is this just a placeholder? Let's see what his action here is. Oh, there's the free fresh. Oh, 3, 4, 5 exactly. Not bad at all. So it looks like he'll be able to pick up that heal. Not going to get immediate fantastic use out of it, because of course he is at 2-0 and he is free freshing. But it's there. If he does have the option to just force out a beat stick if he needs it. Of course, he does have the early play condition all loaded up in the level zone as well. So, I mean, this is, a prime setup for ZNT deck. Everything's there, all the pieces are there. Now it's just a matter of converting that into a win. With that said, 0 stock going into this attack. Not super great, but not terrible either. I mean, he's probably not expecting to have too many issues with power. There is 1/2/2 on his opponent's side of the board, which is pretty beefy. He's swinging for 2 every turn at a base level, but he can get over those once he starts setting up his level 3 wall with those Eleanors, bringing things up to 12,000, and even that's going to be just too much for these level 2s to swing into. So if he gets to that point, he might be able to start tightening the screws and cleaning things up. But we'll see where this attack goes. I think this is just going to be a bit of a throwaway in the middle lane. We'll see. I don't know. Hand sizes look to be both pretty small, right? Or no, sorry, I lie. Tom seems to have 5 or so cards, but yeah, Macross on just the 2 cards in hand could be an issue. Without any sort of hand advantage really coming out of the Macross deck, I'm not really sure if Tom is able to set up his wall. Oh, and here comes the 3/5 counter. Ooh. Bellissimo.
It is still a card used from his hand, but it means that he gets to both keep his character and has 1 less character to worry about to punch over on his own turn. And he knows that he can use his own 2/2 punch over for his life. So I think in terms of board, Macross definitely does have 1 turn here that he could kind of do what he likes and prepare. Tom will most likely have to devise a plan here to regain his advantage and push his opponent's hand size down.
Really unfortunate gate trigger there as well. Hitting that that empty discard pile, but it is something that happens, pretty often when you're playing an 8-gate deck that also plays a refresh. You're going to refresh, and then you're going to have times where you're ultra compressed and you hit nothing. Now, interesting debate as to whether or not Tom should have just forced the heal to come out here anyway. We know he had the opportunity to set it up. Could have set up a 12k on this board. What do you think?
Honestly, I think I would have gone for it because we know that we know here that Igor is a bit limited on resources, so it's somewhat unlikely that he can commit enough of the 2/1 Messiah, the global 1k pilots, to pump his character to go over the level 3 that comes out. And it does limit him in putting out a board as strong as this one. Line, Tom definitely loses this lane and now has to play out characters to contest two separate 2/2s now. So yeah, I think it's a rough position.
It looks like it's taken a lot of damage here.
But the 2/1 was sided, which is
interesting.
Was a 5 sided by an...
I'm sorry, can we pause 1 second? That was a side attack? Thank you.
Yeah, so that side attack coming in. So that 2/1 is staying alive. I wonder. So we're looking at what? It was a 9/5 on defense.
Yeah, it was a 9/5, and he does have the tap of the counter in hand. So yeah, I guess it makes. You wouldn't want your opponent to go to 12. Decreasing the power of the remaining 2/2 as well.
Sure. This goes for the safe line there, and fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
Tom would be able to anticipate that.
And here we are with just the 3 stock. I think we do know that Tom has at least one of the yellow 3/2 heals in hand, if I'm not wrong. There it is. Comes down, heal up, down to 2-5, and we do know he has the other 3-2 in hand as well. So should be able to get another heal at some point. But with just one stock left, this is going to be a little bit awkward. I mean, we are looking at, 10 5s on the board. Out comes the third Eleanor. Okay. But is there a climax to follow this up? Or what's happening? How is he going to be able to actually push through this? Because without a climax, I mean, this is just throwing away cards, right?
I believe that there's a chance that Tom will side attack with the 2 lanes facing 2/2s. And that way you can have 2 13Ks on the fence, which too big for the Karan's clans to get over. And then that way, Eagle would either have to forfeit or side attack. In a side attack war, if you have the level 3, you have the upper. I think Tom might be able to force it into that sort of state instead here.
That's true, but there's also a chance that down comes another 2 soul and
Yeah.
We just go hell for leather. It does look that it does look like he's decided to go for that side attack play, bringing out the 3-2, getting a heal, and going down to 2-4. So those 2/2s get to live for another turn. And like you said, we are looking at some 13,000s on the board, which are going to be pretty much impossible to swing into, at least to swing front into them. We'll have to see how Macross decides to...
Oh, that was surprised Tom decided to jump attack that.
He fronted that, my bad.
It's a very different... this makes a pretty big difference here.
Oh, sorry. No, it's not the front attack. It's the pay 1 effect on the trap alto or whatever it's called, which can shoot things.
Yeah, so that does definitely make it. Now his what's its name? His level 2s are 11-5, 10-11, 11-5. So
still not quite big enough.
Yeah. It's interesting why he just pay 1 character. I guess he just wanted to get a direct attack in there and still get rid of the character as well.
What about with the tap 2 effect? So that other support does have rest 2 to give something plus 1,000.
Oh yeah.
Does that get him over? That gets him over,
yes,
right?
That would be 10, 11, 11-5. Yeah, that's 12-5. So he's actually 5. Yeah, so now he can contest 1 lane while he might have to side the other. He at least gets 2 stable attacks.
Cancel off the top for Tom there. But of course, we do know that Tom has that counter. And out it comes. Yeah, out it comes. The 2 damage goes through. And
pays 3 to keep his 2. That's 2. That's 1 on 11-5 and 11. I believe. I believe the blue one is a front. Unless I am mistake.
The blue gives front 2 plus 500.
It's front 500. So it does seem like a mistake that he put that one there, seeing as the red one is already 1-5 in the. Even if the blue one wasn't, so Eleanor wouldn't be able to fight it out. So
we'll see if it could just mean that that maybe this is a tell here, right? Maybe the fact that he's done that means that in his mind he's also he's already got a counter in his hand and he's already compensated for that in his head. Maybe that's what the line is that he's accidentally revealed that he has a counter in hand. But here we go. Down comes the 1-1. That's going to deal with with that level 0, obviously
I
very
wouldn't like to
comfortably.
play a one-stock character here just to chump attack, so Tom's hand must not be very good. But
Yeah, it's interesting. Would you consider maybe just pushing one of the 0s?
yeah, depending on my hand, I think that given I don't think fighting for board right here is necessarily what you just kind of need to do the damage. If you want to
Yeah, I
play
tend to agree.
characters down the line, that one stock is pretty important.
So a little bit of a careful dance happening here as each character tries to get around the others. A lot of side attacking happening right now. Both players are very cautious of whether or not their opponent will be able to counter over their board, swing over their board in general. We'll see what Tom decides to do with this last attack. You know, if I'm Tom here, I'm probably just crashing this one at this point. I think I'm just saying, well, you know what? It's time to put some damage in. And going up to 4 stock, having 2 heals next turn is also pretty relevant. And he does decide to just crash it in. And he manages to hit a soul trigger off the top. If this sticks, that's going to be pretty relevant.
Yeah, in regards to the side attack, because it does where the one copy of the 3k counter in Tom's deck is. And even if he had sided there, he can't really threaten the. So I think it was definitely.
So down comes the 1k global support, which is another big power boost. So what are we looking at right now on terms of numbers? We've got a 1k global, so we've got a 1500 global, and then 500 200 friends. So basically plus 2000 on these two. So they're at, I don't know,
so 12k, and the middle one now goes to. One lane is matched, and the other one.
Yeah, definitely some big numbers here. The cancel comes out on the open lane. Convenient. And it looks like Tom's just going to let that one swing over the top. Hits the next cancel as well. And the trade over here. And here comes a double soul trigger. Ooh. And that one sticks. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, that's very undesirable. Tom on 4 stock here, so obviously this all depends on his hand. I really reckon that if he was able to get a 2-1 level support, which he plays 4 copies of, he would have had a much easier time fighting, but as he only has 4 stock now, he can only heal twice to play that 2-1. So yeah, I think having to play that 1 last turn changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah, potentially put a little bit too much pressure on that stockpile.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he manages to... I mean, you know, this is an 8-gate deck. He does heal a lot. It is entirely possible that getting another heal here is potentially all he needs. Or maybe he's going to have to use one of those stock to, as you said, play one of those level supports. And just, you know, throw something into the other lane and kind of just go with it, because that was a big hit that he had to take, and it does mean he's in a bit of an awkward situation. So we'll see how he manages to clean this up. He's counting the cards in his deck, which means he's probably looking at a free fresh in his hand, which would not be a terrible line either. He can swing that into the 0-0 and try and get that change happening.
Looks like he's
I
on
really wonder though, yeah.
Which means that he has to take an action which costs stock card of his deck, but then he'd only have 1 stock to do it, and again it limits his resource. So I think his other consideration getting climate cancels with the remainder of his deck, but it's definitely a difficult one.
Yeah, it's a tough turn for sure. It's almost as if there's no correct play here, because he is just a little bit too starved of resources, and you know what we feared does seem like it's happened. You know, 1-0 comes down, This could just be a brainstorm into a 2-1. And honestly, look, that's not horrible, right? I'm not mad about that. If he hits double climax, no, just go straight for the heal. And he heals out a climax as well. So, okay, fine. Looks like he might be thinking about just bashing straight through here. Comes in with and hits another one of those heal triggers and manages to salvage a 3k counter again. That's really important right now, I think. That's potentially, if not enough damage comes out in this next couple of cards, could hurt. But this second gate trigger off the top, I don't know. I think he probably would have wanted that at the bottom of his deck, preventing him from taking all of this damage.
Yeah, it's harder to appreciate card advantage. You don't have the stock to make the most of them either. So, yeah, if you only get with only 3 stock, I think you only really want to trigger 1 door first there.
And that brainstorm off the 1-0 in hindsight looking really good right now. And it looks like he decides to just crash for 2 here, putting his opponent to 3-4 and saying, look, we take what we can get, and this is what we can get right now. 2 climaxes in stock, so things are looking a little bit rough.
But if Tom can survive this turn, he can only 2 stock at 3-4 down to 3-3. So it's quite possible that Tom has lethal in mind after this. It's just entirely down to how much he can catch.
Yeah, look, you got to play to your outs. Obviously, the 3-2 heal coming down is going to give a little bit more longevity to the Macross deck. Down to 3-3 from 3-4. It is actually a pretty relevant difference. Ooh, look at that trigger off the top. It's a double stall and the last card cancel. That is probably something that Tom is really happy to see right now.
Yeah.
However, he is refreshing with only 5 climaxes. So this could make things a little bit more difficult. We'll see if that 2-1 counter manages to get some value here. This is turning out to be a really close game right now. Both of these players really just hanging on by the thinnest of threads right now.
I think
Tom especially
could have considered paying 3 to Encore his level 3 last turn in order to put 2 climaxes back in his provider, 1 damage cushion for the damage he takes. But yeah, it is a bit difficult here to only refresh with 5.
That is true. He could have paid out to try and get that setup happening. It's a hard call to make. It really is, because if you're doing that, you're saying, okay, I'm committing to my next turn being a bunch of do nothing.
Yeah, you'd have to draw a climax in order to reliably threaten lethal damage. But here we know that he cancels. He can eat this one. He just needs to cancel this direct attack for 3.
Yeah, this is a bit of a scary hit. Front attack for 2.
Protect his character and create 1.
Ooh, that cancel. Ooh, that cancel. A cancel is very, very important.
Very important here. So now he not only has managed to keep a 2-star character on, he still has 2 stock to play another one, and he has a direct attack lane, so he can make 3 attacks for 2 stock, which means that Igor needs to cancel at least twice in order, assuming that Tom does have a 2-star character in his hand. But in either case, he definitely has created do lethal damage.
It doesn't look like we're going to be seeing.
Looks like he's not playing a 2-star character this turn.
No, he decides to go for a very niche brainstorm. This is the spammable search X, discard X. I wonder what he's
So
looking for.
Most likely going to pull out the cards in his deck which don't have soul triggers on them in order to generate a second attack. Yeah. So he's just searched the card of drop search which doesn't have a soul. Assuming it's just, and that way he's more likely to be able to assault one attack that has to front from and create a second instance of lethal.
Yeah, really going for a oh, but he takes out the soul trigger here.
It's very interesting.
Okay,
Given
maybe
that
maybe a different idea in mind. Oh no, he's stream sniping. He heard us. Stop stream sniping, Tom. Stop stream sniping.
Grab the level 0 instead.
He grabs the 0, decides he wants to go full in on maximizing the odds of that additional hit on one of those lines there. This is pretty much the final turn. So if you want to place your bets, if you want to show your support for ZNT, get your 1s in the chat. If you're looking for Macross, get those 2s in the chat. This is it right here. This is the real final turn of the game. It's gonna be a spicy one for sure. We'll see what happens. Let's see if Tom manages to pull this one out. Just rearranging his board quickly. And is there any world in which you play a climax here? Go for 2-2-4.
If he played the climax, he would just move his back row. So he hits for 2-2-3.
The cancel in the open lane. Okay.
Alright. Which means that Tom has to trigger at least one on these both of them. It's quite difficult.
Here we go. That's not it.
2.
1, 2. It sticks. Here we go. Here we go. This is it. Is it a soul trigger? Oh, it's not. No. It's not a soul trigger. And it goes to 3-6. No lethal threatened. And here we go. Time to play this as cleanly as possible. 1 damage, 2 damage, cancelled. Ooh. Here's another one. This comes in for 1, 2, 3, and it sticks. There we go. That's the end of that game. Very well played from Macross. Just really ground it down. Took that advantage early on damage and put ZNT in a position where just had no chance of coming back. Really, really well played. Just played that super aggressively. Super aggressively.
That level gap that Eagle was able to level up first definitely game quite a bit in his favor. He was able to stick larger amounts of damage at that point in the game because Thomas lost climaxes earlier. And he also got to set up his 2-2 faster relative in the game speed to his opponent, which really lets him get that board fast.
Yeah, really just, had a game plan, stuck to it. Didn't want to just let anything weird happen. Just went straight for it. Really, really well done by both players, though. Tom did the best with what he could. So definitely a great game to start off our top 8. I hope that got everyone a little bit excited. Got the pulses going a little bit faster. Hearts racing just a little bit. Well done to both players. So we are just going to head to our little enter-in screen in a moment, and Ken and I will be joining you in just a second.